was the only time Japanese people are willing to change themselves.
Well, Michi, I want to thank you for coming here this morning. I mean, it's a pleasure. I noticed that you've been looking at many of my podcasts.
Yeah, I did, yes.
Where were you born?
I was born in New York. On that time, my father was working for a trading company named Nichimen. The company no longer exists. I think it became Sojitsu. Nichimen and Nissho Iwai merged, and they became Sojitsu. That time Nichimen was still like independent company. And my father was transferred to States in late 50, and I was born there. They then told me that in that time Japanese couldn't live in Manhattan, so they lived in Brooklyn Heights. But
they wouldn't allow Japanese to live there in the 50s?
I think it's more the financial
I don't know if it's just that, because it was right after the war too.
Yeah, also.
That's probably why.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons.
Yes.
So, but I think I was born in New York Hospital. That's in Manhattan, but they lived in Brooklyn Heights. And at age of, I think right before I became, well, 2 or 3, they moved to Oakland. So my father worked for Nichimen's San Francisco bureau. Then I went back to Japan before or right after I became age of 4.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have siblings?
I have a sister. She's 8 years younger than me.
So you guys, are you close?
Well, yes, but she lives in New York now.
So everyone in your family, your mother, father, you, and your sister speak English?
Yeah, they do. Yes, they speak English.
Right.
Yes.
So did you go to international school, or did you go to?
No, I went Japanese school. I went Seikei Elementary School named Seikei. That's the same elementary school as a former late Prime Minister Abe went.
Oh.
Yes, Abe went Seikei from first grade to the college. So he spent 16 years there. I studied from elementary school, 8th grade. My father was that time he was working with Sony, and he was transferred to Paris. So I went Japanese school in Paris.
From what age?
I was 14. 14, yes.
Did you learn French?
Well, I went Japanese school.
Japanese school, but still outside of
yes,
that.
Yes, I learned.
You did?
I wasn't good, but I should say that je parle français un peu.
Un peu.
Un peu.
How long did you stay in France?
I stayed in France till age of 15, till I finished junior high school. And then I went to international school in Switzerland. It's funny that I should explain why it's Switzerland. The Sony Europe had a headquarters in a town named Zug in Switzerland. No one knows. It's a small town.
Okay.
But they had a tax reason. They gave a tax benefit. They did have a quite number of Japanese who's working in Zug.
Okay.
But Zug itself is a small town. It's a small town, It's like 1 hour from Zurich.
Okay.
So people, everybody would wonder, why Zug? But when I grew up, I did meet people of a president or CEO of the hedge fund, who has their office in Zug.
So you understood it was tax reasons.
Tax reasons.
Okay.
Yes, but it was nice. I was there for 2 years.
2 years.
I went I wanted to study in the United States for college, so I did my senior year in boarding school in Massachusetts. Yes.
So again, now tell me, your father's background, he worked for the company because what was his position in the company?
When he was in Europe, he was the head of Sony Europe. He was in Paris, and also he has to look headquarters in Zug, Switzerland. He left Sony, and he was the president of Johnson Wax. I say, before he became a president of Johnson Wax Japan, he spent a year in Racine, Wisconsin. Racine, it's a cold place. But it was the same time I went to college. I went University of Vermont in Burlington, and I must say that time the mayor of Burlington was Bernie Sanders. So it was funny. I saw him on the street. I did talk to him, and I said, where are you from? I'm from Japan. It's like small town. It's not like a New York or Chicago. So you see the mayor, right?
Right.
So when he ran for the president in 2016, I sent an email to my friends. Is that Barney? We used to see? And my friend replied right away, yeah, it's a Barney. It's so funny that I couldn't believe that
Same
the
person.
mayor of such a small town became a national figure, and no one knows the town of Burlington. It's such a small town, but because of Bernie Sanders, right? Even if you look up Yomiuri or Nikkei,
It's there now.
you see that like a line from news from Burlington.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is
So
interesting.
did he ever speak to you in the town?
Yeah, well, I mean,
In passing by?
passing by, yes,
yes.
I see him. I mean,
Right.
we chat, or I don't think he remembers.
Right,
know.
of
I mean,
course.
I wasn't close friend or anything, but the small town, he's around
All the time.
Church Street is like a main street.
Right.
It's like a
It's the only street.
only street, I would say, or Church Street. You see him,
All the time.
yes, and he still had he still have office, yes,
Right.
yes.
And did he look much different? It looked pretty much the same, just a
Pretty
little bit
much.
less hair. That's about it.
Less hair and
A little bit whiter.
white.
That's it.
And also for a foreigner, it's hard to understand his English. Was it Brooklyn accent or something?
Right,
Yeah, it's
right.
hard to catch up.
He has a
yes.
very, very hard accent.
Yes.
That's right.
Looks same. Yes.
That's interesting. Tell me about your life as a child when you were growing up. You went to all these international schools, but they were all outside the country.
Well, outside, but
They were Japanese.
Yeah, but for elementary school to 8th grade, I went Japanese private school, Seikei.
Okay. So what were you like in school? Were you really academic or were you more sports minded?
Not obeying what parents
Said, okay.
instruct. Yeah.
Even in elementary school?
Elementary school, yes, because Seikei had such a strict regulation.
Right.
Right after you don't go anywhere. Like once you get out of the gate of the school, you have to straight walk to your home.
Right.
But I kind of
Ran other place. You went
Yeah,
2 streets over.
I with my friend I go to bookstore, or if I see empty land space, we play like a small, like a football or a baseball.
So during that time, your mother stayed home, right? Did she work
Yeah,
at other?
she stayed at home.
So
yes.
she took care of you the whole
Yeah,
time.
yes.
But when you went to school, didn't the schools discipline you? Your parents didn't so much. The schools did, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
So they could hit you when you were small.
Yes. In the time was different.
Yeah,
Yes,
completely
people, the teacher could hit
Easily.
Well, nowadays.
Oh, now
people,
you're not supposed to do any of that.
Teacher can be sued. But in
Right.
old days, yeah, they did. But discipline, there are certain kind of kids who would fit in this culture. But I would say that by nature, I didn't like what people tell me what to do. I was more rebellious.
So you were what they say hankoki.
Hankoki.
Hankoki?
Yeah.
That type of kid?
Yeah, I would say
In a
that.
way.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what made you strong.
Yeah.
But see, was your father strict with you?
He was too busy.
That's what I'm saying. So
Like he was a typical businessman of Showa era.
I understand.
It was a time that Japan was growing.
Right.
So most of the fathers couldn't spend time at home.
Right. So in other words, he worked getsu kasu mokinkin.
Yeah, even Saturdays. And
But that's what they said. That's why it was this. They called it
you remember? I mean,
2 Mondays, 2 Fridays. They didn't have Saturday and Sunday.
Oh yeah.
That's why they said getsu kasu
Kasu.
mokinkin.
That's right.
Now the younger people wouldn't understand that.
That's a word from.
But that was a Showa era.
Yeah, and that's a mentality. Yes. You must know that in the old days, right? Most of the Japanese company, they have to work half day on Saturday as well.
That's right.
That's
They
right.
always did. Yes.
Yeah.
That just stopped. That's something modern.
They stopped recently.
That's
yes.
right. You were happy then once you finished elementary school and then you traveled to another country.
Yeah, I was 8th grade, and I think I should say that that's a turning point for my life. Being in Seikei, right? It's a nice school, but it's a small community, and the parents' backgrounds are almost same. So I would say that fish in a small pond,
Right.
which doesn't know the outside world.
Right.
I was like this.
Yeah.
But when I began to attend Japanese school in Paris, you see kids from all sorts of backgrounds.
But you went to Japanese school in
I went
Paris.
Japanese school.
Weren't the parents still the same type of parents? How could they be in Paris if they were
Well,
different
I mean,
backgrounds?
because my English wasn't good enough. I don't speak French. You need a some transition, And there was a Japanese school from first grade to ninth grade, and I went to Paris at the middle of my 8th grade. So 1 year and a half, I went to Japanese school, and I thought it was the right decision. Yes, yes, and I could prepare.
Right.
Yes.
And then after that, what did you do?
I am from 10th grade. I went boarding school in Switzerland.
Did you want to? Did you want to go to boarding school?
Well, yeah. Well, I thought it's a good idea to see the outside world.
Okay.
And I told you that the Sony headquarters was in Zug, right? It was just by the Lake Zug, ZUG, and there was a mountain named Zugabel. Zugabel. You have to take a cable car to get there. The boarding school was there. So when my father is in Switzerland, I could see him in the weekend.
Was it good? Did you guys really do things together?
Well, he was busy. You know, he didn't come to Zug every weekend, but once a month or once 2 or 3 months he came.
What would you do? Just the two of you?
Well, we just talk. You know, well, I don't remember like. You know, being in a boarding school and being in an atmosphere which you'll be surrounded by people who doesn't speak a word of Japanese, it's a stress at the beginning. So talking to him is a kind of like a change.
Right. You'd speak in Japanese to each other?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
We always speak to Japanese to each
Oh,
other.
really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about to your mother, the same?
Yes, yes.
Your mother and father still okay? Are they living?
I lost my mother in 2001.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
She died of age of 65.
That's very young.
It was April 2001, and that time I was a foreign correspondent, Yomiuri foreign correspondent in Phnom Penh. So coming back to Tokyo took 2 days. My father called me in 4 or 5 in the morning in Phnom Penh time. But there was no direct flight from Phnom Penh. I have to go to Bangkok, then Tokyo. So first thing we did was we flew to Bangkok. But time we get there, the morning flight back to Tokyo is all gone. So I had to wait till like 11 p.m., almost half day, to catch the airplane.
Were you by yourself?
No, with my family, yes.
How is your father? Is he?
Oh, he's okay. Yeah, he found, they're not married, but he found a partner. He lives with his partner. He will be 90 in December 7th. We still exchange the message by line, and he's Japanese. I mean, he doesn't make mistake in Chinese character. He still writes the good Japanese.
Oh, okay.
So this indicates that his brain is still
functioning properly.
Yes.
That is very good.
Yes.
That's very good. So okay, so you go to the private school in Switzerland. After that, what did you study while you were in school? What were your subjects that you were most interested in?
In a college or?
First in high school, when you were in the private schools.
Well, in high school, right, I found out that I would say I would be like a nerd of the Bakumatsu, like end of Tokugawa shogunate to Meiji.
Okay.
And, I read lots of books about it.
Why did that fascinate you so much?
It's end of samurai era to modernize Japan.
Yes.
That's a Japan change. People say that Japanese people are so obedient. In a nature, they are reluctant to change. But that was the only time Japanese people are willing to change themselves.
How so? What did they do?
Well, I mean, you know, the Tokugawa shogunate ended in 1868, right? And in such a short period, Japan transformed themselves to feudal Japan, to modernized Japan, and they are willing to they send their talented youth to U.S. and Europe to study. They also invite foreign expert and they did that in 20 to 30 years.
But wasn't that right after spending more than 200 years in isolation, basically? Right? It's right after that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yes, because Tokugawa shogunate ruled Japan for almost 260 years. Sekigahara was 1600, and ended in 1868. So I would say 268 years. Okay, and Japan was isolated. Yes.
On purpose, purposely.
On purpose, yes, because they wanted to avoid foreign invasion.
But the only contact they had was actually Netherlands,
China,
in China,
in
right.
a small section in Nagasaki.
Right.
Yes. And it was isolated, but in a certain class, Tokugawa shogunate was success to maintain high intellectuals. And also they are good at gathering information through small narrow gate from Netherlands and China. Yes.
They allowed them to come in, keep them updated as to what the world was doing.
That's right.
That's all they wanted to know. But you still can't come in. You can visit. We'll give you some silk or something like that, but that's it.
And if you see the diaries of the bureaucrats of Tokugawa shogunate, you'll be amazed at how they are updated. The world current events in Europe or States, they would know that when America was caught up in a civil war, they knew that America doesn't have enough muscle to come to Japan, so they knew that America won't come for a while. We should focus on England, like British or French.
You're in school and you really enjoyed history.
Yeah, I did, yes.
You enjoyed that. So then did you know what kind of job that you were going to do when you got out? Had you planned?
I had a dream of being a journalist.
From when?
Well, till my... there's a reason. My father's father, my grandfather, he was a reporter. He worked for a Mainichi newspaper. He spent all his life in a Mainichi newspaper. He started as a junior reporter, and he ended up becoming a CEO, shacho, kaicho of that company. And he's been telling, how he went, like his stories.
So you were close to him. You grew up.
Oh yeah, yes.
So he really influenced you.
Yeah, he did, because he was from most of the major newspaper except for Yomiuri, the Mainichi and Asahi. They are originally from Osaka, and he was and even my father and my uncle were brought up in Osaka area. But when he became a CEO of Mainichi newspaper, he moved to Tokyo. And I was the only grandchild who lived in Tokyo. The other my cousins, like my relatives, are in Osaka.
Well, so wait, your father had how many brothers and sisters did your father have?
My father had one older brother.
Okay.
He was and one younger brother. Or he had a sister, but she died at the age of 5. So all of my cousins are in Osaka. I was the only grandchild in Tokyo.
In Tokyo.
So every weekend, sometimes like once or twice, I spent
with your grandfather.
Time with my grandfather.
So he really influenced your thinking.
He did.
That's interesting.
It was funny. I live in Mitaka, right?
Yes.
And Mainichi has an office in Takebashi, right? And my mother put me in a Tozai-sen, and my mother calls my grandfather that I just put him in a Tozai-sen. The train left, but he waits me like 10 or 15 minutes ahead in that Takebashi station, and secretary is worried. What is he doing? It was funny. It was my to me, I was like only age of 4 or 5, right? It was grandfather anyway.
Right.
But now I really appreciate it.
That's something.
Yes.
So how old were you when he passed?
I was I was 18.
Oh, so you spent a good time with your grandfather.
Yeah, I'm really appreciate. Yes,
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yes, and he
But
gave me
that
a
was the era, because people of your generation, and mine actually, the grandparents are the backbone, because the parents had to work so hard right after the World War II.
You're right. You're right.
They didn't have any time to be with us, but their parents did.
And especially my father, he's a businessman of Showa era.
Shogunate.
Shogunate.
He had to.
Yeah, and I must tell you that my grandfather gave me he put like full trust on me. He gave me a confidence.
That's beautiful.
When even my father or my mother had a doubt of my ability or merit, he always believed in me. He always tell me that I know, don't, I didn't. He said I didn't care what your parents say. I always believed in you. At the end, you will achieve this. He always this. Yes. He gave me confidence.
Good. That's so good.
Yes.
That's so good.
Yes.
All of us, everybody needs somebody like that. But it's good when it's your blood that tells you that. Your grandfather.
It is.
Wow.
And he still lives in my memory. And as you said, he gave me my backbone. Yes.
That's so good.
Yes.
Well, he gave your father his too, or either his father might have given it to your father.
No, maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
He didn't have a whole lot of time either. He didn't have a lot of time.
So that's a role. Maybe that's a role of my the grandfather, every grandfather.
Yes.
Because parents are so busy. Yeah, because they be busy. Yes.
And plus they're thinking about the bills. We're not thinking about that anymore. So you sit back and you can relax. Your children, you can let them play on you. But when you're busy, that's the last thing you want to hear as a child. Ask the question 10 times.
Yeah, and also my father has to think of how he has to prepare my college tuition or
everything.
Stuff like that.
He's got bills. He's got to think about what's happening in society. When you're older, you're not going to be around that much longer.
And also he has to go through the survival at his corporation. Yes.
Everything.
Everything. So father is a tough job.
Yes. I read a book recently. It's called What Happened to You? And it's about our parents and the hard life they had. But yet many of us don't think about it because we're only thinking about ourselves, how it affected us. And we forget all about their life and that they had parents too, and their life was not necessarily easy. And we're doing okay.
It's hard. It's easy to say that my father didn't spend enough time for family. It's easy to say.
Right.
But I did have that complaint when I was in teen. But once I became my own, began to work, I understand how hard for him to be a good father and also a good businessman.
You appreciate when you were in Zuk and he saw you once a month. Now you really appreciate it.
He didn't make effort.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he could have relaxed in his home in Paris or something.
And just say, I can't make it.
Yeah, but he didn't make the effort.
That's right.
That's really thank
I think we all have to appreciate our parents because.
But you don't appreciate when you were young.
No, of course you don't.
When you become 40 or 50, then you realize that how thankful we should be to our parents. Yes.
They provided the house, the education.
Yes.
Any time they could give us.
Yes.
That is so interesting. So tell me this. So when you finished college, what was your first job?
I worked with another agency named Dentsu, but I couldn't.
Who doesn't know Dentsu? You mean the ad agency called Dentsu? That's the biggest.
I couldn't give up being a journalist, so I went preparatory, preparatory class something I did my own, and I must say that I applied for all major news agency, but Yomiuri, I think they get interested in me in my background. I remember the charge of the HR that time. He was a veteran reporter of a political news department of Yomiuri. He said in ordinary time, or he said it was 10 years ago. Yomiuri would not hire people like you, who didn't graduate from Japanese college, if it's 10 years ago. But now the world is changing. we need the people from the all sort of background. He said he emphasized what we call like a variety, because the world is changing.
Right.
And so he gave me a reason, and also I was lucky because Japanese economy was booming. So number of the reported they fresh recruits they hire was like twice or 3 times more than the usual year. They hired 70 reporters, 70. In a usual time, well, some year it can be only 15 or 20. In an ordinary year, it's like 25 to 30. But that time, it was like Japan was still in a bubble economy.
Bubble, yes.
And newspaper was still in their heydays, so they could afford. So I was lucky. Good timing.
Good timing.
And I must say that the timing is also is an important factor for one's life.
Isn't that the truth? Because what if you were born at the bubble when it burst? Your life would be completely different.
Different.
Look at the kids now that grew up wearing masks. They don't. It's completely different world.
It is different world, and I feel sad. I mean, my daughter was born in 1995, so she doesn't know that when Japanese economy was growing. And when we talk of luck, let's say if I apply the newspaper, any newspaper, or NHK or Yomiuri Asahi or Nikkei, if the number of the recruits they can hire is down to 20 or something, of course, they only hire people from graduates from Todai or Keio or Waseda. They don't want to
take a chance.
They don't want to take a chance.
No.
So, yeah, 2 factors. Yes, the bubble economy, and that this head of HL had an interest on the people from different backgrounds. Yes.
So you believe there's such thing too as luck?
There's a such thing as luck. Of course, we have to make effort. Keep working hard. And but there's a luck, yes. But you have to continue keep working hard in order to catch the luck. I hope I'm trying to say that. I hope you understand. Yes.
No, I do. I think that's very true. I think that luck can come around, but if you're not prepared for it,
it just
it'll go right past you.
It just passes
and
by
I don't
you.
think it's one time. I think it comes several times, but you still have to be prepared. So.
And also, even now, there's always regret that when I look back my 20s or 30s, that was luck, but I couldn't notice it. There's always.
Knowing what you know right now, at your age, and you told me you're 10 years younger than me, so you're 60.
Yes.
If you could go back in time and see the younger Michi, what time would that be, and what advice would you give him?
Well, maybe 2 periods. I after spending years in Japan, my family moved to France, Europe, right? I couldn't really open to a different culture.
How old were you at that time?
14,
okay.
14. And I didn't pay enough attention to French culture and history.
So what advice would you give yourself at 14?
My advice is try to know and learn the country where you are. And my advice would be spend more time in studying French. Yes, studying French.
And you said there was one more time?
One more time that's when I started as a journalist in my 20s.
Oh, in your 20s, okay.
Yes, the things we are doing seemed meaningless. Everything I began my career as a journalist in the Yokohama bureau, but there was a meaning. I end up meeting people from all sorts of background. Appreciate what you see and appreciate people you meet. I enjoy it, but I have a more appreciation to the experience I went through when I was in the Yokohama bureau.
That's so good. Michi, I want to thank you so much.
Thanks for your time, and my pleasure.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for watching this podcast. Make sure you press like and subscribe. And never forget, it's all on loan, so continue to reach for the stars because you're too blessed to be stressed.